Okay, fellas, I hope you picked up some confidence from those wins there against the under-19s because we need to be a lot better than we were in Moscow there against Lokomotiv. Okay, we cannot afford to be like that in these last two games. We could still finish top of this group and we could still finish bottom of this group. Okay, so two big wins, and I want to kick on from what we did last season. We've got APOEL away. We bet these guys pretty comfortably in the home game, so pretty confident going into that one. And then Young Boys at home, which I know looks a little bit intimidating. They're banging in the goals, but we did hold these guys to a scoreless draw away from home earlier. So I think these are two games that we can get points out of. We're unbeaten at home so far, and let's make our way through the knockouts of a European competition, okay? Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 42 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and in today's episode, which is technically the start of season number 5, we play our last two games of the Europa League group stage. We have got APOEL away from home and then we have Young Boys at home, and we could still, as mentioned in the intro, finish top of this group or bottom of this group depending on how the results do fall. So there is still everything to play for, and hopefully we can make our way through to the knockouts of a European competition. Just need to finish inside the top 3 spots for that to happen. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video. And if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But here is how the group looks off the back of yesterday's episode. We just played the one game in that episode before doing the end of season review. It was against Lokomotiv in Moscow, and it was not a good result, losing that 3-0. A pretty poor first half there, proving costly, and that has condensed this table right up heading into these two games. If you did miss that episode, I'll leave a link to it above my head in the top right corner. But today, as mentioned, we've got APOEL away first. This is a team that we did beat 3-0 on the opening day of Europa League group play, so hopefully we can get a decent result here, even though it is away from home. And off the back of that, we take on Young Boys, who have found some really good touch, that really good goal differential coming off their most recent results against APOEL. But they are a team that we did draw against away from home in our second match week game. So going into that one with a little bit of confidence so far, we have picked up 2 wins in our home games as well. So if we can keep that up, we should be getting out of this group safely. But it'll be interesting to see how we do get on in these 2 games in today's episode. But first up, it is the APOEL game. No injuries heading into this one, but we do unfortunately have a few suspensions. We do have Corbo and Bjarkason back after missing out yesterday's game against Moscow, but Bamba is out, as is Isidore. They have the similar case of picking up too many yellow cards, but I don't think we're losing as much quality with the replacements that we've got for those two in this game. Carlo coming in for Bamba and Nygaard for Isidore. Might be lacking a little bit of goal scoring touch there without Isidore. He has been very good for us out on the right wing this season, but that still looks a pretty similar sort of team star rating wise, so hopefully we can put out a decent performance. It does change up our bench a little bit. We have no right back option on the bench, so Carlo is going to have to keep going out there, albeit Nygaard can play wing back, so we could put him back to right back if we need to, but our bench is Christiansson, Prada and Sigurd Bjornsson to cover at the back, so 2 left backs on the bench, albeit Christiansson much more of a centre-back in my opinion. Then it's Ledson. We've got Arnason back on the bench, our young striker, seeing as Isidore is missing. We don't have that second striking option on the bench without him there for this one. So Arnason makes his way back onto the bench, and Sakularak and Lilamosa are also there. But hopefully away from home against APOEL, we can get a half-decent result in this one. A draw in this game is enough for us to at least make our way through to the Conference League knockouts. So this could be a very big game, and a game that decides whether we are going to be playing knockout football for the start of 2025. But we will come back shortly from the GSP in Cyprus and see if we can get a result away from home here against APOEL. 4 minutes gone, we do have the first highlight of this game. A long throw and Carlo to Pedro, back out to him, trying to put that in there, force for Dursky, but APOEL in the yellow do head that clear, but we do hold possession here inside the final third, trying to pick out Nygaard there, but it does go to Wheeler. Clearance there from the goalkeeper, albeit a poor one, and Carlo gets that back to Nygaard. Swiderski with a shot just over the bar, doesn't trouble the goalkeeper too much, and after 5 minutes, it does remain 0-0. Up to the 28-minute mark, and we do have a corner, which Mbiyamba gets on the end of, flicks on for Nygaard, but can't hit the target. That looked harder to miss than to get in the back of the net. Half an hour gone, both of our centre-backs picking up yellow cards, which is a little bit concerning. You can see their stats-wise, APOEL are slightly edging this, but we've had both highlights so far. Unfortunately, does remain 0-0 though. And that is half-time in this game. Both of the highlights in our favour. It does remain 0-0. Stats-wise and XG-wise, a pretty even game. You could argue that APOEL are slightly edging things, but with both of those highlights being in our favour, feels like a quite even game. Not too disappointed with how this is going. Of course, we just need a draw to be reaching the knockouts of a European competition, but we'll keep the same lineup for the second half as we kick it off, still at 0-0. And an early free kick here to APOEL to start the second half at the 50-minute mark. Just a little bit concerned that both of our centre-backs are on yellow cards. Hopefully that doesn't have too much of an impact. They do get a header off there, do APOEL, but it's a pretty non-threatening one, goes wide, and it does still remain 0-0 early in the second half. Okay, 62 minutes gone here, and I think we're going to make our first substitution. Not much has happened so far in the second half. Bjarkason struggling a little bit out there on a 6.6 down to a yellow card. I think we'll bring Ledson on for him just to see if anything happens. I know João Pedro is struggling out there, but there's a big drop-off between him and Arnason. But if he keeps performing poorly, that might be the next substitution. But with just under a half hour to go, it does remain locked up at 0-0. And not long off the back of that first substitution, it is a free kick here to APOEL. They do keep the ball there for a few short headers, but we do get it back, pass it back to Sarah Fellini, and then he boots it long. João Pedro, though, gives that straight back to Simone Scaffé, and he just holds the ball up here in goal. Boots one flat and deep, but Leandro Diaz will tidy things up pretty comfortably for us here, and we now look to play out from the back, focusing down this left-hand side. Corbo now, they are pressing us quite nicely, but we get it back to Sarah Fellini, puts that deep. João Pedro, nice header down there for Ledson. Can we get something going and break the deadlock? It's a poor first touch from him, then a very interesting tackle from Ledson, and it is APOEL on the counter-attack, but they do miss the target. That was a great chance, but it remains 0-0 heading into the last 20 minutes. And up to the 73-minute mark now, time for us to make our last few substitutions. We are going to change the remainder of the front three because they are all on red hearts, and truth be told, haven't been too great in today's game. So Pedro is going to come off. Arnason gets his first run in the first team for a little while. And in terms of on the right wing, Sakularak will get a restart out there for the remaining 17 minutes of this game. Still 0-0, but as I said earlier, that wouldn't be a bad result. That would guarantee us a place in the knockouts of a European competition to start off 2025. And right off the back of those substitutions, we do a free kick. Ledson for Mbiyamba, puts that in the back of the net, and that could be a huge goal in context of this Europa League group stage, although VAR is checking it and he has disallowed it. Will be interesting to see just how tight that was. That could be a big moment, and I'm not too sure if he actually was offside there. That looks very debatable. We get a goal chalked off, so it does remain 0-0 with 15 minutes left to go. And about to enter the last 4 minutes of regular time in this game, still at 0-0. We will up the tempo, see if we can get anything to happen here, but we are potentially going to be securing our place in the knockouts of a European competition, albeit this result might mean it's a little bit tougher for us to reach the knockouts of the Europa League. That goal that got ruled out there against Mbiyamba, very debatable, but it does finish as a 0-0 draw in the end. A very even game. You could argue we slightly edged things thanks to that slightly higher XG and that quite controversial goal potentially that did get ruled out, at least in my eyes anyway. Looked like he was fairly even in line with the defenders there in Mbiyamba from that free kick, but we pick up a 0-0 draw away from home, which is not a terrible result, and as mentioned earlier, that at least guarantees ourselves our place in the Conference League knockouts at worst to start off 2025. So at least have that coming up in the next episode instead of a Deal to Bakar episode, which no doubt you guys will potentially enjoy a little bit more than the usual League Cup. But we'll just have a quick look at what the group stage table does look like off the back of that game. And luckily for us, it appears it was a draw in the game between Young Boys and Lokomotiv as well. So that really has no impact on the group table. That all it means is that APOEL cannot get out of this group now. It is a free horse race between us, Young Boys, and Lokomotiv going into the last match week. Lokomotiv potentially, despite being below both us and Young Boys, do hold the advantage taking on APOEL, who have struggled just a little bit so far in this group. But we have got Young Boys coming up at home. So far, we have won both of our home games. If we can win that, we are going to finish top of the group. And we will come back shortly with that second and last game of the Europa League group stage at the Laugardas Vola against Young Boys. And we have TV coverage for the second game of today's episode. We are at full strength for this one. Everyone back from their suspensions. So hopefully we can pick up a good result here against an in-form Young Boys team playing a 4-4-2. They have been banging in the goals in most of their recent games. Did only pick up a 0-0 draw there against Lokomotiv, but do hold a goal differential advantage going into this last match day. If we want to top this group, I suspect we are going to need to win because Young Boys do have that big goal differential advantage on us. But we kick this off, this deciding game for the Europa League group stage. Can we reach the knockouts of this competition, or will it be the Conference League? 13 minutes gone. It's an early highlight here to Young Boys. Yet again, our opposition are in the yellow. Heads that down, does one of the Young Boys players. He hits it on the volley, but puts it over the bar. Good early chance for them, but it remains 0-0 just after a quarter of an hour. 22 minutes gone in this game, and we are about to have a free kick, but most importantly is Corbo puts that in the back of the net. I suspect he was offside. What I was going to say there is if you look towards the bottom left corner of your screen, APOEL away from home are beating Lokomotiv. That result would mean that we make our way through to the Europa League knockouts no matter what. Unfortunately, Corbo is offside there. That one a lot more clear-cut than the Mbiyamba one from the last game, so it does remain 0-0 after 24 minutes, but keeping a big eye out on that APOEL result at the moment. 36 minutes gone, it is Young Boys with a corner, still 1-0 to APOEL. He flicks it on, does one of the Young Boys players for a player at the near post, plays that back for a long shot, but it goes high over the bar, and it looks like we might be heading into halftime 0-0, despite Young Boys being quite dominant so far in this game. And that is halftime in this game. Young Boys have certainly had the better of things, but it does remain 0-0, and at the moment we are actually quite happy with that scoreline, with APOEL beating Lokomotiv 1-0 at halftime in the other game. That means that Young Boys, if things stay the way that they are, will top the group. We will finish second and be in the first knockout round of the Europa League. We're going to make one change at halftime there because we're not too happy with how our boys are playing. Leandro Diaz on a 6.3. He is really struggling out there, so Raul Prada can come on for him. Hopefully, though, we can pick up a goal in the second half of this game to make sure that we do top this group and make our way through to the Europa League knockouts, as it remains 0-0 with 45 minutes left to go. 48 minutes gone. We have an early highlight here in the second half, albeit we do give the ball straight away when we were in possession, so that's a little bit frustrating. Look like we might be on the attack here. Something to note, this might be the last game that we do play with this wing play system. We are keen on trying out the Tottenham vertical tiki-taka, which we could almost call the Völsungur tiki-taka for next season. I suppose that would kick in for the Deal to Bakar, which I think would kick off just before the European knockout games do start. So we might be going into next season trying out a new tactic in European knockout games, as long as it performs well in the pre-season and those first few Deal to Bakar games. We play a 4-3-3 shape here at Völsungur anyway, and we're not changing too many roles from what we currently have. There's a good ball over the top there for Elia, puts that in for Fassanaken, just puts that wide. Good chance there for Young Boys, and it does remain 0-0 at the 50-minute mark. But in bigger news, Lokomotiv have equalised against APOEL. At the moment, we would still be going through to the Europa League knockouts though. And up to the 57-minute mark, we are now not in the Europa League knockouts because Lokomotiv are beating APOEL 2-1. But we're going to make a change here. Nygaard can come on for Pedro. He's struggling. That means that Isidore is going to move into the striking role. 33 minutes left, still 0-0. And at the moment, we are in the Conference League knockouts thanks to goal difference. But if we get one goal, we will be in the Europa League knockouts. And up to the 67-minute mark, time for us to make our last substitution. Bamba on a yellow card. So we'll take him off. We've got a few yellow cards at the back. Corbo has also picked one up. That means he might be suspended for our next European game, I think. But Carlo for Bamba, that's our last substitution, still locked up at 0-0 and still making our way to the Conference League if the scorelines do stay the way that they are at the moment. 81 minutes gone. We have a late highlight inside the last 10 minutes. You'll notice in the bottom left corner, Lokomotiv should now be making their way through with a 3-1 advantage. Great chance here for Isidore. Forces a good save there out of the young boys goalkeeper. That was a brilliant chance to beat these guys and make our way through into the Europa League knockouts, but we do still remain in third place thanks to young boys' superior goal difference. We just need a win. Still on the attack there. Bonnet tries to unleash a shot from outside the box. It takes a big rebound and it does remain 0-0 with only 7 minutes to go. I think it's time for us to potentially up the tempo here just to see how things are going, because at the moment, still in that Conference League spot. 86 minutes gone and we do have a free kick now, playing on an extremely high tempo. It's a poor free kick though. We give the ball to young boys and then Same gets inside the box. Good block there though from one of our defenders, but if they get a goal here, we are certainly not going to be making our way through to the Europa League playoffs. It comes off the upright, does that header off the crossbar. I should say it's now 3-2 to Lokomotiv, so APOEL are coming back in that game just a little bit. Hopefully they can get one more goal back, because then we would be making our way through to the Europa League knockouts. Another corner here. That header does go over the bar with only 2 minutes of regular time left in this game. 1 minute now. We're going to try and change a few things here. Start hitting early crosses just to see if that helps. We'll go even more direct passing wise, but it looks like we might end up with 2-0 draws in today's episode. So not the most exciting one, but what that will mean is we are going to be playing Conference League knockouts for the start of the year 2025, albeit the first minute of 4 of added time. We do have a highlight. Bjarkason makes his way down the left-hand side, puts a ball into the mixer. It kisses off the crossbar, and unfortunately, Nygaard isn't quite there to put it in the back of the net. We put a ball back into the mixer. They deal with it. Do young boys, so a bit of an interesting chance there created from Bjarkason, but unfortunately, that is full time. It is a 0-0 draw. We will just wait and see what has happened at full time in that other game, because APOEL did make that scoreline 3-2 very late on. So we'll just wait to confirm and make sure that we are, in fact, in the Conference League knockouts and not the Europa League knockouts. But I suspect it is the Conference League. For us, it would still be a little bit of an improvement on what we did last year, where Motherwell only just snuck through ahead of us. But in the end this year, it looks like it is young boys who are going to be sneaking through ahead of us, not because of superior head-to-head, but because of goal difference. They picked up 2 very impressive wins in their games against APOEL. We could only manage the 1 win against those guys, albeit there was a goal in that game to Mbiyamba, which could be quite decisive. I thought he was onside for that one, but indeed, Lokomotiv did just hold on for a 3-2 win over APOEL at home. That means that we are in the Conference League knockouts on 9 points, a good solid first season in the Europa League group stage, but unfortunately we don't quite make our way into the knockouts. But what that does mean is we do have Conference League knockouts to look forward to for the start of 2025, and we should be coming back shortly for the draw for that first knockout round that we will be in. And we are about to have this Conference League knockout draw. Just make our way through all the teams here, looking for teams that we might want to avoid. Everton is one that stands out alongside Hertha Berlin. They're a team that do tend to be a little bit overpowered in Football Manager saves. But apart from that, maybe Montpellier and PSV are other teams that we would like to avoid. But I think we could take most teams in this competition, Fiorentina potentially as well. But first up, Bate Borisov of Belarus, and we have drawn them. So we get Zealand's favourites, the Bate Beasts from Belarus, in the first round of the Conference League knockout. So that is what you've got to look forward to. In the next episode, we will take on the Belarus outfit over 2 legs. They are currently top of the table in their league. Looking at their starting 11, no names that are overly familiar there, but they will be an interesting opposition for us, having finished second in their Conference League group. I would like to think we'll go into that game as favourites, considering we only just narrowly missed out on making our way into the Europa League knockouts, but we will be coming off the back of a little bit of a break, only a few Deal to Bakar games, and we should by then have a new tactic in place. Not too sure if that's going to help or hinder us, but we have got Bate Borisov from Belarus in the first round of the Conference League knockouts to look forward to in tomorrow's episode, and that is going to be a big episode because that is going to be around, if we just go and check when that first game is, the 20th of February, and I think the transfer window here in Iceland opens up on the 21st of February, so that's a little bit unfortunate. It means that some of our new signings won't be at the club in time for the first knockout round, but we will go through those transfers potentially off the back of those two legs against Bate in tomorrow's episode. It will be a big one, Europa Conference League knockouts transfers to start off the 2025 year. Hopefully, we would have spent some of the £6 million that we do have at our disposal here at Völsungur for this upcoming season. But that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, 2-0 draws, but we are in the knockouts of a European competition for the first time in this Build a Nation save. And before I forget, we might just have a quick look at what the coefficient looks like, seeing as there were no goals in today's episode, which was a little bit unfortunate. If we go down and find Iceland, we are on a 4.125 at the moment, so still a good gain considering we're getting rid of a 0.625, but haven't quite matched what we did last season when we were in the Conference League. So far, not matching it, albeit that could also be down to not having an Icelandic team get as far in the qualification for the Conference League as Breidablik did last season. That could also be impacting our coefficient for this season so far, but hopefully we can get past Bate Borisov in the next episode, and we could boost it up quite nicely, hopefully, to try and match what we did last season. But as I said, that will do it for today's episode. If you did enjoy it despite the lack of goals, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell. As well, as I said, tomorrow it's a big episode. We will have those games against Bate in the Conference League knockouts, a little bit of a recap of the deal to car so far, and the transfer window does open up. We should have an influx of new players joining the club, hopefully. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.